That's the one thing I want to make sure I cover. Okay.
You're live.
I'm chuckling because I want to just welcome you. I'm excited to be with you. This is Kenny Randle, and I have so much to share with you today as we talk about conversations at the curve. And getting to the curve sometimes is not always the easiest thing to do. You can see it from a distance, you think about it, and you probably want to know, why are we talking about conversations at the curve? Because I know you were working on Conquer Your Curve, and you wrote a book, Kenny, called Run the Curve. Well, all of it kind of collides and comes together for a very good reason. I'm going to tell you about conversations at the curve. First, if you look at sports, and I was a high profile athlete, I was an elite college athlete, particularly in track and field. I had the fastest time in the world 2 years in a row in the 400 meters leading up to the Olympic Games. So I was pretty good at what I did. And most people think that athletes just show up for the game or show up on the track because they're fast, show up for the game because they're gifted, show up for the tennis match because they got it like that. But let me share something with you. That's not true. You may have it like that. You may be brilliant in your sport. You may be brilliant in your vocation. You may be brilliant in your work. But everyone has to run and work and be able to practice. Probably the best word I could find. So I want to talk about today conversations at the curb. And I chose conversations because I was trying to remember in my memory banks about when did I have conversations on the track. Well, it didn't take place at practice because everybody was busy running. Everybody was focused on what they had to do. But most of the conversations took place on an area they called the infield. Now, the infield is a designated area on the track where whatever your sport is, you kind of congregate there and you're doing having conversations, you're actually stretching. But more importantly, believe it or not, you're actually strategizing. And people say, you're actually strategizing? Yeah, you're strategizing. You're strategizing on the infield to talk about what's going to happen. You talk about what has already taken place and how can we get better. Isn't that amazing? I had those same conversations when I went into left sports and went into corporate America, and we started having those conversations in meeting rooms. We started having those conversations in conference rooms. We started having those conversations in boardrooms. Only the conversations about how to get better, how to strategize for the next, how to get on top of your game, how to ensue different pointers and different ways and means of being able to get better. Now, I tell you what, that also took place as I moved from that realm into what actually happened at the same time, and that was ministry for me. So for me, being able to share with you today, I'm excited because we get to have some conversations at the curve. Now, conversation is just what it is. It's conversing, which I always look at conversations as a two-way street, not a monologue where one person's speaking and I'm speaking and you're listening. Now, that may take place today quite a bit because we don't have the benefit of interaction. I don't know if we're set up for a chat today, or else I'd ask you to chat back to me when I pause and ask you some questions. But the most valuable use of our time today, I don't believe, will be trying to provide a solution because I don't really know what your problem is. Provide a direction or take these 5 steps to be successful or take 3 steps over here to be more powerful. I believe you're going to get all that and you will be all that and you probably already are all that. But I want to spend the time having a conversation because conversations are always valuable. I found that the most valuable conversations are when people are asking questions. If you ever notice that, if you ever walk into, and I had a lot of sales calls because that's where I cut my teeth when I came into corporate America. I went into sales. I came right out of sports, went into sales for a very high profile, successful corporation. At that time, it was one of the biggest and the largest in the world. And they had an outstanding training program. Outstanding. Is one of the best in the country. And you know what they continually had us focus on is how we could ask effective questions so that we could have a great conversation. You can walk into an actual room and have a great conversation, whether it's your prospect or whether it's your employees or whether it's your team. And if you're asking more questions, they'll think that you're the greatest conversationalist. How about that? So conversations make a big difference. So we're going to have conversations today at the Curve. I'm going to ask you some questions. I know I can't hear directly back from you, but my objective is to actually get you to think. My objective is for you to actually begin to think about the questions I'm asking, okay? And once you're able to think about them, then as we go down the road, should you want to go down the road further with me, then we'll start to really zero in on what is your curve? Because that's the first question I'm going to ask you today. What is your curve? I don't know. What do you mean by what is my curve? What is that one thing, that one scenario, that one situation that you find yourself constantly confronting or constantly being involved with or constantly thinking about all the time or constantly saying, how do I get over it? How do I jump over that obstacle? How do I jump over that barrier? But I also want to share something with you too. When you hear about the word curve, a curve is not always a barrier. A curve is not always an obstacle. Oftentimes, believe it or not, a curve is an opportunity, but it's disguised sometimes as a barrier. It's disguised as something you have to jump over, but it's really to help us perfect our game. And the greatest way that I found, because my entire life, this whole transformation coach that you hear about, and I am a transformation coach. I had to really think about that a long time about how do I get to that place of a transformation coach? Because you have a lot of transformation and a lot of transition and then a lot of transformation and then a lot of transition. That's what I've had my entire life. Transition, then transformation. Transition, then more transformation. And you may be similar. And you might be right now transitioning in wherever you are, transitioning in your work, transitioning in your role, transitioning in your position. But the whole end game, I hope it is that you want transformation. I talk to a lot of business professionals, a lot of people in clergy, ministry professionals, ministry leaders, as well as sports athletes. And they're all wanting to move to their next, or they all are wanting to go to where they can transition to the next place. But as you're transitioning, you're actually moving forward in transformation. I'm going to give you something. I'm going to give you a scripture actually out of the Bible. Now, we're not going to church here, but I have to tell you something. Most of my conversations, my foundation, my platform, a lot of the insights that I have gotten and gleaned over the years have come from the Bible, because I'm a servant leader. And so I believe in being able to just share with people where my source is. I don't want you to think I'm just so brilliant and smart in some of the things I share with you. I do have a source about it. And and that may rub you the wrong way, because maybe you're not believe in the Bible. You may not believe, that may not be your spiritual beliefs, but that's fine. They don't have to be. You know how many areas in my life I've gleaned and gained by people who just had great knowledge, who had just great insight, who had great conversations or great blueprints, because I'm a learner. I hope you are too. I hope you're a learner. So when I came with Conquer the Curve, which will be the next iteration that we'll do next month, it's going to be longer. We're going to take a deeper dive into Conquer the Curve. We're going to take a deeper dive in each one of your areas, because it would be ridiculous or ludicrous for me today to say, I understand everything you're going through. How could I? I don't know your curve. So I want you maybe nudge the person if you're sitting next to someone in the office, or maybe you flag them in and say, listen, this guy's talking about my curve. And I've not really thought about it, but it seems like I'm always running curves. I'm always running in the curve. I thought about this the other day. I won the NCAA 400 meters when I was a senior in college. And it was a track in Philadelphia called Franklin Field. And I never thought about it much, but when I arrived on that field prior to the championships taking place, what got me so excited about the field, even though I had never been exposed to it before, was it had very, very long curves. The only track I've ever run on that had more curves, seems like, than straightaway. And that was unusual. But because I'd ran so many curves, and because I think had mastered running curves, I got excited while all the other athletes were moaning and groaning and complaining about the curves around the track. It's too many curves. It's too many curves. Well, guess what? Our lives, our business lives, our personal lives, our spiritual lives, our social lives, all are laid aside with curves. Some are short, some are longer, okay? But yet and still, we all have curves. I want to ask you this question because I said I wanted to ask some questions. The first question was, what's your curve? Second question I have for you, what are you doing about, okay, in terms of getting you around that curve masterfully? What are you doing to be your best at dealing with the situations that come in your midst, or the different scenarios that come, or the obstacles that come? What are you doing? Do you have a strategy? Another question. Do you have a strategy for your success? Because sometimes your strategy is not the strategy someone else has. I learned a long time ago that everyone has a different rhythm. You have a different rhythm than your coworker. You have a different rhythm than that person that's your friend or best friend. Or you may have similarities, but you have a different rhythm. And I teach and coach people on how to master your rhythm, how to master your race, because it has tremendous benefits. No one can run the race that you have. And I use these athletic analogies. I know that I am, and some of you that don't like sports or don't like athletics, I apologize. I can only tell you that that's where I learned how to become a champion. I learned how to become a champion on the field. I learned how to become a champion. So I've been involved, a little bit more about me. I've been involved on championship teams, conference championships, individual championships, went to the Super Bowl, went in pro football. I didn't stay long, but I was there long enough to be able to experience it and know what it is to be a champion. I've had championship coaches, and I so admired them that it thrusted me to become a coach. So I ended up becoming a coach, not a football coach, not a track coach, not a tennis coach, not a basketball coach, but a transformation coach. Because I believe that my tenure in sports, and anyone's tenure in sports, is only a microcosm of the total length of their lives. I tell young people all the time that your life is not a short story, but it's an epic. So whatever you've experienced and whatever curves you're hitting right now, let me tell you, they're short stories. Because your life is an epic. And we unfolded the book in terms of the life that you're running, the course you're running in your life, we're going to find all sorts of opportunities that maybe you're overlooking, because I found that it's always more difficult being able to read the label if you're inside the bottle. See, most people are inside the bottle, so busy looking inside the bottle at the label, they can't see it. But once you come out from side of your bottle and you begin to look at the label from the other side, or have someone else, that's what coaches do. I had a coach that took me from being, I would say, an elite athlete, track and field athlete, to a world-class track and field athlete, simply because he was able to get outside my bottle and see what I needed to do. And they weren't major shifts. They were just tweaks. Right now, many of you, I would ask you this: do you need just tweaks, or do you need a major shift? Oftentimes when we hit curves, or we hit obstacles, or we hit things that slow us down, we think something shifted. Maybe we don't have it like we used to have it. Maybe we can't do it like we used to do it. Oftentimes, it just means you're just stuck on the curve. You're just stuck on the curve. And you need someone to maybe coach you on how to get through that curve more effectively, more efficiently, more productively. And those small little iterations in your running. Now I use track, but it may be in your thinking. Sometimes just being able to look at something differently. Some of the greatest inventors, some of the greatest inventions that have occurred in this world that we know have come through people who thought a little differently. And maybe they bounced their ideas off of people so many times that they finally got to that place where they knew they were right in the pocket for success. I really want to be a coach to you. I told someone the other day, I was texting them, and I told them, I may not be your coach, but I can help you. I might not be the coach, but I can help you, because I had one person that made a major difference, and I've had business coaches that had made major differences just by little iterations they've shared, just by little bits of advice along the way. I was taught many years ago, because I told you I was in sales. I spent the last 26 years in leadership, in executive leadership, sales leadership, people leadership. Prior to that, I told already 10 more years, 12 years in sports. Now, the whole ministry part of my life came up along the way when I got into leadership, just the way that it worked. But ask yourself the question, what am I doing over and over again repetitively? It seems like it's not getting me where I need to be at. Many of you, I know the kind of audience I've got online here today. Many of you are brilliant at what you do. Many of you have done brilliant things before, make brilliant contributions, but you feel like you're kind of in that funk right now. You kind of feel like, I know there's more in me, Kenny. I know I have more to give, but I don't feel like I'm getting an opportunity to do it. I don't feel like I'm getting the chance to really show that I can contribute. So you have the title, and you have the people that maybe come and report to you, and you have, you can wow individuals with your gift or your contribution, but you feel like you're not making a difference enough. You feel like no one's really listening. You don't feel like you have no one's hearing your ideas that can move the needle. I want to talk with you how we can help you move it. I want to talk about how I can help coach you. Now, if I can't, then guess what? I will lead you to the next coach. That's for sure. That is really for sure. Let me give you a great example. Before we did this video that you're getting right now, you won't believe what we had to go through to get to this point. We hit a curve before the curve. Before I talk to you about the curve, I hit a curve. Now, I didn't ask for it, but it came. And then we had to make adjustments along the way. But I know that adjustments always take place. I don't freak out when there's adjustments. I know that I just have to deal with them. Just like when I would go running an event or running on a track. Every great elite athlete, whether it's a football player or whether it's a basketball player, I saw the WNBA the other evening, and I was amazed by how great these women are. I was amazed how great they can handle the basketball. And they shoot better than the men, because they shoot jump shots. They don't shoot a lot of threes. They know how to work the basketball. But you know what? What is tremendously great about them, okay, and people lose sight of this, and I'll share it with you, because you do it automatically almost. The greatest growth component of your life is in your habits. It's in your habits. And we lose sight of our habits that got us to where we were. I tell athletes all the time that are finished with professional sports, and they feel like the cheering stopped, and they feel like, where do I go from here? And I begin to bring them back to the strategic steps that got them to where they were. They just have to point it into a different direction. And that's the habits. Great business accomplishments have come not only just through great minds, but great habits. Because you can have a great mind and you can have great intellect, but if you don't have great habits, it will never carry you as far as it can if you have them. I wrote a book called The Champion Mindset. Now, really, what we're talking about today is an outgrowth of that very book, The Champion Mindset. Talking about the curve, conquering the curve, running the curve, comes out of a champion's mindset on how you do something. When I left sports, that's the one element I took with me, my mindset. So we'll dig deep into the mindset and maybe make those tweaks, those little small tweaks that will carry you to the next level. I've been blessed. I've been fortunate enough. God has blessed me to do three things. Number one, to be able to be around great people. And that's been a constant in my life. Number two, being around great people, great companies, or great organizations and great causes. Those three. Because I love a great cause. How about you? And right now, you may be teetering on the fact that I don't know if I'm in it anymore. I need something greater. I need a greater cause. Well, let's dissect that as we go on to the 3-day challenge as we go from here. Let's dissect what that looks like for you, because maybe it means you have to pivot. Maybe it means you have to reposition yourself, not rediscover yourself, not reinvent yourself. Because we talk about that, reinventing yourself, rediscovering yourself. No, but maybe just repositioning yourself to the greater. I'm excited about what we're embarking on, what you're embarking on. Just the fact that you're listening to me right now tells me you want more, tells me you deserve more. It tells me all of that. And you want the greater. Lastly, I was thinking another scripture that the Bible says, let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ. What's your mind like right now? So if you can have that same mindset, then you can accomplish anything you want to. Oftentimes, it's just being able to zero in and being able to have people help you see it better. Because you're right on the verge of your next. I don't care if you started 10 companies and had success. You're probably looking at starting your next 2 companies. How you see it is invaluable. But more importantly, how many people do you bring along with you? How many people have you brought along with you for the ride where they actually have gotten your mindset, where they actually have gotten the benefit of your strategies, the benefit of your thinking? Oftentimes, we're so busy working in things, we don't have a chance to work on them. I want to talk about how to work on it. If you're a leader, how do you work on it so you bring your people forth to create more leaders? Maybe that's your legacy. We'll get a chance to talk about legacy. Maybe your legacy is bring others along. I know my part of my legacy is to bring along my family and whatever I do. Sometimes they bring me along. I feel like they're leading me most of the time versus me doing the leading. But I'm excited to be here. I'm excited that we finally got a chance to talk. Think about these conversations. What is your curve? And what's your strategy to run through your curve? And how do you take that curve and make it an opportunity and not look at it like an obstacle? And then we're going to work towards then how do we have the victory in our companies, victory in the marketplace? Oh, I love challenges. I love Goliaths. I talk about Goliaths all the time. I love Goliaths. I love taking down Goliath. What is the Goliath you're dealing with right now? It may have nothing to do with your work. It may have something to do in your home. It may have something to do with your associations, but it's a Goliath to you. Well, you probably need to get you some stones and put them in your bag and get ready to take down some giants. And I love taking them down. So you got a giant killer here with you. I'm Kenny Randle, and I'm so glad to have some conversations with you today about conversations on the curve. And guess what? They never stop. Don't you? Take care.